everybody, and welcome back to our weekly Rise Up Animal Road discussion video. Today we're talking about episode 6, Loser X Master. Before we get into things though, I do want to remind you all that if you would like to have your name shouted out in next week's Rise Up video, then be sure to share this video around on the internet and then tag me at JoJo Talks Too Much over on Twitter, and I will be sure to shout your name out in next week's video. Now then, with that said, allow me to gush for just a moment because we start this week's episode establishing Mao's new character arc. Now I, as you guys may remember, am all about Mao. I love this character. Now, unfortunately, this episode is not actually about Mao, despite what last week's episode may have told you, or at least what you may have read from last week's episode. Last week's episode really sets up that Mao is going to take focus in some like Mao-focused arc, right? And that's still possibly the case, but it's not the only focus. Like, Mao won't be like the only central character in this upcoming quote-unquote arc, because I don't really think this show is too concerned with arcs, but if it were, Mao's not going to be the only one focused on, because it's also going to be focused on Rose and Joanna. And I was really nervous when I realized that this was going to be an entire episode focused on these two, since I wasn't really interested in them. I just wanted to know a little bit more about my husbando Mao. And might I add, Mao is just looking friggin' top tier. This man wearing like the cloak that we see towards the end of the episode, the cloak, oh my goodness, the cloak on Mao looks fantastic. Mao is just, I don't know, it's something about his whole, like, before I get into Joanna and, or is it Joanna or Joanna? Once again, we come to this point in every video I make where I can't remember how it's pronounced. I'm just gonna say Joanna for the rest of this video. If it is Joanna, I apologize, but Joanna and Rose sounds nice. Joanna just sounds nice in general because it reminds me of Sweeney Todd. You know, that like, I feel you, Joanne. We should talk about Sweeney Todd one day. We should do a whole series on musicals. We're not gonna do that, but it'd be fun if we did. But anyway, I'm gonna save them for just a sec. I'm gonna talk about them in a minute. Before I talk about them, I do want to stress how much I love this direction for Mao's character. Mao's new character arc, I love it to pieces because I like the idea that Mao was so lost without Animal Mask, right? So lost without Genzo that he literally took up knitting and was trying. He was trying to get his life back on track. And that's really admirable. Like, he was actually trying to move on. And then he is summoned to an isekai world and presented with the man who damn near ruined his life. Not ruined his life, but sent him into a downward spiral. And it's like he just fell right back into that. And his whole thing where he's like, do I know this guy? Are you kidding? Like, you could say that. Our relationship goes a little bit beyond words. And I was like, Mao, straight up talking about my relationship with Mao. Our relationship goes a little bit beyond words. And I don't know, I just like this whole idea that Mao is like, okay, I'll play Dark Side if it means I get to have my match with Genzo, and don't you worry, I plan on beating him anyway. So I like the idea that he's like, I'll play along with your Demon King nonsense because it means that you're gonna take me to Animal Mask and I'm gonna find this friggin' guy, probably like not only fight him in a match, but also probably kick the hell out of him for just abandoning him. But I love that idea. I love that. Now, unfortunately, it's not really Mao focused, like I said. I wish the whole episode was about Mao. However, I'm actually not too disappointed with what I was instead given. Again, Joanna and Rose. Now, Joanna and Rose as characters are pretty good. I'd say that Rose is a lot more one note than Joanna is. Joanna actually seems like a legit character and would totally fit in with Konosuba. Like, I really feel like that you could make parallels to the Konosuba characters. Like, Carmilla, especially in this episode, is just Aqua. Like, 100% she's just Aqua. And I suppose you could draw parallels between Joanna and Hanako and Megumin and Union, only like if Megumin and Union's character roles were like reversed, because honestly, Hanako feels more like Union, whereas Joanna feels way more like Megumin. And I do mean that as a compliment, because she's like Megumin if instead of just being a Chuni, she was actually like a demonic being, because I believe they established Joanna's like a vampire or something or other. I actually, or no, she's not a vampire. Rose is a vampire. I don't remember what's special about Joanna, but basically, yeah, she's big and bad and tough as nails, and she never lost a fight until she met Hanako, who seemed like a big ditz, and she was baffled by the fact that she couldn't beat her because all Hanako could seem to focus on was eating. Although they don't call her Hanako, they call her by her name, which I don't remember, like Linda Buella, I believe her demon name is, which again, you could draw comparisons back to Konosuba. Linda Buella being her Hanako's real name is sort of similar to Darkness, and you could just keep making parallels because that is the one thing, right? Like, I'm happy to notice the parallels, but I can see other people pointing at those parallels and saying like, oh, it's just the writer just falling back on what he knows, and that's lame. But to me, I'm like, no. I like those tropes, and I like the little twists on them here. It feels like Konosuba because it's from the same friggin' person. So honestly, I can respect if some people are like, nah, I'd rather just watch Konosuba. But for me, Konosuba with wrestling, I'm not gonna say no to that. I'm pretty happy about that. And like I said, the fact that this episode focused so heavily on Joanna and Rose was worrying at first, although I shouldn't really say it focuses on Joanna and Rose as much as it focuses on Joanna and Rose plus Hanako and Carmilla, since it's mainly about how Joanna feels. It's a stock sort of backstory, because she's like, oh, Hanako beat me, so I can never forgive her, and I want vengeance. And that's sort of stock, but the way that they play it, where it's just like, yeah, you want vengeance. Hanako doesn't even remember who you were. Like, she straight up is like, hi, bye. Like, when she tries to stop her in the hallway to go get food, she straight up does not remember this character. And essentially, this leads to Joanna challenging Hanako, but more so through their servants, because Rose, who is Joanna's servant, is a elder vampire, whereas Carmilla, as we know, is a lesser vampire, meaning that Rose can kick the ever-living hell out of Carmilla. And that's the other thing, right? I have to give praise to this episode for, and the show as a whole, because for most comedy series, the animation's not. I shouldn't say that it's not required. A good comedy should have fun animation, like it should be wacky and neat. But never would I have walked into this show expecting some really good fight choreography, as well as just solid fight scenes in general. Like, this is good stuff. Carmilla versus Rose it's 110%, if I may use wrestling terms, a squash match. Like, Rose just destroys Carmilla, like, it ain't even funny. But it's just cool to watch these two go at it. And of course, because it's Rise Up Animal Road, it's also really dang funny. Like, where at the end, Carmilla is like, you think it's this like power up moment where Carmilla's like, I can't lose, and she's like saying it to herself like she's hulking up or something. And Rose walks over and she's like, you're done. And then Carmilla like grabs her by the skirt and is like, I can't lose. And she's all beaten up and she's trying to like psych herself up and crying at the same time, and it's just not working. And Rose is like, you're gonna pull my skirt off, you friggin' weirdo. I thought that was hilarious, because again, I was thinking this was gonna be like a big hype moment, but instead it just devolves into comedy, and it's still kind of emotional, because you do feel bad for Carmilla and you feel bad for Hanako, and you really do want to see Joanna and Rose get their comeuppance because they're acting like total jerks. Not to mention, kinda racist, leave the lesser vampires alone. I suppose you could call this episode sort of an origin story now that I think about it, not just for Joanna and Rose, but also for Hanako and Carmilla, since we didn't really get to know a whole lot about their backstory. And I do think it's funny that Joanna and Rose assume that Carmilla and Hanako must be after the hero so that they can stop him first and that they can please the Demon King. Meanwhile, they're like, nah man, we just like him. He's just cool. we're making a pet shop. You want to help? Like, I just like that idea. And again, as with most things in the show, I just kind of like watching it. I just like where it goes. I like what it does. I love its comedy. I think it's on point. It is way more animation friendly. It is way more like Sakuga friendly than I had expected it to be. It's just like, it's honestly one of the better shows. And you know what? No, I'm going to stand by that. I was going to say, at first I was going to change my mind and say like, well, it's not one of the better shows. It's one of the better isekai this season. But honestly, I really like this show. It's not amazing or anything, but it's really good. Say, for example, somebody approaches me right now and asks for a good isekai this season. I would honestly say it depends on what you're looking for, because there's so friggin' many, but it would ultimately come down to two. Do you want something different? Then in that case, you may want to try out something like Bookworm. It's still an isekai, but Ascendance of a Bookworm does a hell of a lot different to other isekai while still falling within that genre. However, if you want just a solid, good isekai that is really funny and really energetic and honestly at times heartwarming, especially whereas this episode's concerned, and just a good time, Rise Up Animal Road. I know there's other isekai this season, but for my money, this one does isekai the best. Bookworm does it the most unique, whereas this one does it the best. Like, it just perfects what isekai does correctly. I still like Bookworm more just because it's different, but friggin' Rise Up is so funny, and it's so good and heartwarming and fun and hilarious and exciting, and I love it to pieces. Also, if I may get slightly personal, I had a rough day, and I just wanted to come home, and all I wanted to do was play Smash Brothers, because Terry Bogard came out today to date this video. And I had that moment for like a split second, right? Where I was like, man, I just want to play Smash, man. And then the instant I put on this episode, immediate smile across my face. And nothing makes me smile more than Hiroyuki dancing in the ED. Hiroyuki dancing in the ED, I know it's simple and we see it every week, but every friggin' week I'll just kind of start like dancing in my chair along with him. Hiroyuki's the best boy debate, not just of this season, but this year is certainly up for debate, but the goodest boy, that's Hiroyuki, there's no question. Seeing Hiroyuki dance just kind of put me back in a good mood from the kind of awful day that I had, and it just made me excited to get to recording this video. And I don't know, Rise Up Animal Road just always never fails to put me in a very, very good mood. With that said, everybody, I was originally going to give this week's episode a B, but the more I think about it, I'm going to give it an A. I think it was really good. And on that note, everybody, that's going to wrap up today's video. But before we take off, I want to give a big shout out to the good folks over on Patreon, namely those in the Earl Grey tier: Calvin Atkinson, Crowbar of Irony, Dominic, Urza, Ginkotaku, No For Nothing, Maria Teresa, Mirth Mouser, Omner Garamond, Cell, Shadow Creative, Sipco Games, Somastan, Steven, Tristan, Verdon, and Westbourne Eastbred. A huge thank you to those of you who support the channel over on Patreon, and if you too would like to join the T Squadron, then be sure to check out that first link in the description to check out our Patreon page, see all the cool rewards you can get over there, as well as access to our Patreon exclusive Discord. Thanks once again for checking out today's video, everybody. If you enjoyed it, then you've probably been on the internet long enough to know what to do already, so I ain't gonna tell you, but I will say that it is appreciated. And if you are feeling stressed out today, then you go have yourself a warm cup of tea, and I will talk to you all again real soon.